Hello, I'm Chris Sissons, a community web consultant, and this is my first ever video. And I'm starting with a wonderful negative theme, the 5 worst intermediate body websites. Don't worry about what an intermediate body is, I shall explain that in a moment. But first I want to ask the question, why review websites? Well, the first thing is they help us learn good practice. To actually see the mistakes of others means we're less likely to make the same mistakes on our own websites. And we can also see the very simple things that we can do to improve our own sites, and they can help us remedy some of the effects of using shortcuts and cheap options. You see, one of the problems a lot of voluntary organisations have is that they use the shortcuts and the cheap options and then find they get into difficulties. So looking at these websites will help us to resolve some of those issues. So what is an intermediate body? Well, the first thing to say is it doesn't really matter. The aim is to compare some similar organisations. However, it will help to have a rough idea of what they do. First thing to say is that they're usually based in English counties. So there's about 40, just over 40 of them all together. And they're where the church traditions in a particular county are working together. Most of them are county based. One or two are based in towns such as Milton Keynes and Swindon. But the church traditions, that's the Church of England, the Roman Catholic Church, the Methodists, URC, Baptists and others, get together and collaborate over various things. And the county bodies or intermediate bodies are the organisations that help them to do that. And if we're going to assess the work of their websites, it just helps to know roughly what they're doing so that we can compare their performance. So just a few ground rules. And the first thing is you've got to laugh. Some of these websites are, the alternative is to weep. And generally I prefer laughing to weeping. It's okay so long as we remember that the aim of this is to be constructive. What we're trying to do is to work out best practice for similar organisations. Our aim is to learn from others' mistakes, and there is benefit, therefore, in making mistakes. And if in several years' time one of the owners of one of these websites sees this video and they say, well, we much improved our website years ago, the point is we can still learn from your mistakes. So take pride in your mistakes. You see, remedying mistakes is usually dead easy, so long as your site has been set up properly. The problem is that with these 5 worst sites, something has gone catastrophically wrong. So it's going to take a bit more effort to get these websites onto the right track. In my next video, we're going to look at the 5 best intermediate body sites, and we'll see there that the issue is much more about tweaking what's already there and not worrying too much about the basic structure of the website. So, without further ado, let's have a look. The first website is West Yorkshire Ecumenical Council, or WYEC. It's a good Yorkshire name. And the first thing I have to say is the colour scheme. Shocking pink. You want to wear goggles when you look at this site. It is. I'm all for bright colours, but this is a bit Claire's Accessories, isn't it? And the other thing about the general look of this site is the size of the font. I don't want to give the impression that most church members are over the age of 70. But as you get older, your eyesight fades. So why? And this is typical of a lot of these websites. Tiny font. It doesn't help. And in fact, anybody, even with 20/20 vision, is going to struggle to read this. The next thing is the navigation. There are 2 rows of navigation here. Is it really necessary to have all these different types of pages? Then we get to the business end of the website, and the first thing we have is Welcome to WYEC. This is a very bad heading. We've already got the name of the organisation in the header. I don't quite know why we've got the URL as well. I mean, we've found the URL, we're on the website. So it's probably not even necessary to have the name of the organisation in the heading as well. It really isn't necessary to have the word welcome, and you'll find that a lot of these sites begin with the word welcome. If you have put hours into designing and constructing your website, you do not need to welcome people to it. The next thing that's wrong is putting an abbreviation. Although WYEC, yes, it's a commonly used abbreviation for West Yorkshire Ecumenical Council, and people who are familiar with the intermediate bodies know it. But people arriving on this site don't necessarily know it. If you are going to put the name of your organisation in the heading, spell it out in full to begin with. But really, you're wasting your heading in saying any of that. You'd be much better off using this byline as your heading, or something similar, bringing together churches of West Yorkshire and the Dales in common witness and mission. That at least gives the reader an idea about what the site is about. We then get this thing in the forefront of Christian unity, whatever that's supposed to mean. This was actually the first website I looked at because WYEC has got a really good reputation, and I thought this was going to be a really good website, and quite frankly it's disappointing. This is the 5th worst in my opinion. Yes, there are websites that are worse than this. You've then got a missing image, presumably it's Twitter, but the alt text hasn't been used. And then we're invited to click here for the latest news of events and vacancies for churches across, whatever that means. But that is the call to action on the site. We then get prayers for hope after classroom tragedy. This happened less than a week ago, so it shows that the site is being kept up to date. It is an active site. So somebody came on here, put that up, and saw this missing icon and did nothing about it. It's bizarre, isn't it? Then we get WYEC hosts National Catholic Ecumenism celebrations. We're now at the beginning of May. This is an event that's happening on the 11th of November 2014. So again, it is up to date. Then there's an advert for a book that somebody's written, and then Justice Wednesday for church leaders, and Generosity Tuesday, and Food Generosity and Justice, Ecumenical Welcome for on and on it goes. And what we're doing is we're digging further and further into the past. Every time WYEC has an event, they bung it on the front so that there's all this stuff on their home page. A massive amount of clutter. There's no search box in the heading, so anybody who wants to find anything has got to scroll through it and hope that they find it. Have these people never heard of a blog? Just a simple way of keeping track of the information on the site. It's a disaster, but not as much a disaster as the next 4. On we go to Buckinghamshire. This almost goes to the other extreme, whereas the first site, the WYEC site, was full of clutter and mess. This site there's virtually nothing on it. Now, you'll notice here is something called Voice. This is the content management system. And note that little logo there, because it's there. So the Churches Together in Buckinghamshire is using somebody else's logo on their site. Notice it also fits across the whole screen. It's usual these days for websites to centre on the page. It looks messy and I don't want to read it really, but let's get into it. We then have a rather pointless heading, given that it's already in the header. Something else could have been put there. And then the dreaded word welcome. Churches Together in Buckinghamshire is an intermediate body of churches together in England, drawing together Christian churches from across the... It's okay, but it doesn't fill me with excitement. To be fair, they've been lacking a county ecumenical officer. One's been appointed on the 1st of April, just over a month ago, and so we can hope that we'll see an improvement in the website before long. But look, we go on to the news page. The same information about the appointments on that page. You can then ask to download the latest newsletter, although judging by the site I don't know why anybody would want to. We then go to this page and we find just a list of groups, and here we have a classic. If you would like to become an affiliated organisation of Churches Together in Buckinghamshire, there is no reason on earth that any organisation would want to be affiliated to this, judging by this website. So let's move on to the 3rd worst website in the country, and that is Churches Together in Surrey. Now, the content management system here is a little bit better than the last one. I believe it's one that's provided by Churches Together in Britain and Ireland, and several of the intermediate bodies use it. This is a particularly bad example of the use of it. Now, I think some of the problems can be seen in this right-hand column, where we have the RSS feeds for churches together in Britain and Ireland. Anybody who doesn't know wouldn't know what CTBI is, and churches together in England. And look, here you've got these strange A's with a thing on the top. It's a bit of a mess. The impression I get is that you can't get rid of these. Everybody seems to keep them on the site, and I wouldn't be happy with that, but there we go. We then have in this column serving the churches of Surrey, which is fair enough. We then have churches together in England's logo for some reason. Don't know why that's there. And then it says, Churches Together in Surrey covers the administrative county of Surrey, excluding the borough of Spelthorne, which lies north of the Thames and which belongs to West London Church Link, but including those parts of Hampshire which are in the Anglican Diocese of Guildford. Is that really the most important thing? I mean, that's what the eye almost immediately gravitates to. If it doesn't, it gravitates to these two columns. This one, contact information. Well, there's a contact us page here which includes the same information. Why do we need this on the home page? There's no reason given as to why anybody would want to make contact with the ecumenical coordinator. And then this bit here, well, we've got the dreaded word welcome to our website. Oh, is that what it is? You can find information here about, would you believe it, the area covered by Churches Together in Surrey and its constituent bodies. Haven't we just read about that in this sidebar? Is this really the most important issue in Surrey? The boundaries of Churches Together in Surrey? Come on. The church leader in Surrey and the covenant they signed. There's clearly an S missing off leader. I think there's likely to be more than one church leader. And no link. Downloadable version of the Churches Together in Surrey newsletter with no link. This is just awkward and obstructive to any visitor. News items and forthcoming events from around the county. They can't even proofread it. Why should anybody stay on a site like this? And look at this. Let's go to About Us and then About Christianity. About Christianity, a possible space for non-believers to learn about the Christian faith. That first line there is a message to the members of Churches Together in Surrey, not to the visitor to the site. What would prevent them from just doing a little paragraph about each of these links so that somebody coming to this page would know what it is they'll find if they click on the links? If you can't even be bothered to do that, why have the page at all? It just seems slapdash. So let's get on to the second worst. The runner-up is Oxfordshire. You'd think Oxfordshire, containing the University of Oxford, would be a leader amongst websites. It's actually another content management system, and this is incredible. This is actually an archaeological marvel. This site is structured using tables. Websites were structured using tables way back when, in the feudal period of the internet. Nobody structures their websites using tables these days. And this content management system, the header contains the name of the content management systems, Communicate, which you can reach by clicking on that link there, and this is Oxfordshire, which you can reach by clicking that link there, and if you click that link there, you stay on the page. Why do they put up with it? We then have a heading. Oh, there's no welcome on this one. There's a brownie point for them. But the heading reads Churches Together in Oxfordshire. Well, they need it because it's not in the header. We then have a logo, which should be in the header. We then have Churches Together in Oxfordshire exists to further ecumenical relationships within the county of Oxford. Could be better, but it does at least give you the purpose of the website. But after that, we go into the teeny tiny font again. Red on white, which is virtually unreadable even if it was a reasonable size. And if you do look closely, you see what it's telling us is about the vacancies on the committee. Well, I'm sure that loads of visitors are really interested in that. Now, again, no one is giving any thought to what a visitor sees when they come to this site. Let me just give you an example. Where do we go from here? What on earth is that about? Well, let's find out. Let's follow the link. And we see it's something called Set All Free. Now, you might know what Set All Free is. If you don't, you're in trouble. We then get the logo, but this time we've got Churches Together in Oxfordshire. Why didn't they put that on the home page? And then we discover it's a set of display posters. We've still not been told what they're about. Presumably we're supposed to know what set all three is. Set all three display posters. We find out that they're laminated and in plastic covers. And we're still in this very tiny script, and then we discover at long last that this is about slavery. And there are 47 items in this list. No one is going to read that, even if they're interested in slavery. There must be set all free websites that provide the information in a much more accessible form. Why should anybody bother? And now I am pleased to announce the overall worst website in the country amongst intermediate bodies, and as a confirmed Sheffielder I'm delighted to announce it's Greater Manchester. Now let's have a look at this. Well, first of all, we'll notice that they've stolen the idea of the Clare's accessory colour scheme from WIAC, or maybe WIAC stole it from them. And we have Greater Manchester Churches Together at the top. At least it's clear what website this is. And then we have it's 3, 6, 9, 10 teeny tiny little photographs of who knows what. It could be just about anything. My guess is they're photos of Manchester, but who knows. We're then told that we're going to be offered on the home page Greater Manchester Churches Together contacts. And then we have one person, one contact rather than many contacts, which is probably a blessing. And we're even given the URL of the website that we're already on. We then have the option of downloading the Spring 2014 newsletter. Why anyone would be interested in that is something of a mystery. We then have Passiontide in 2 words. Again, it's not been properly proofread. And then we have a copy of a letter dated the 6th of February 2014, at least it's this year, for a conference that took place on the 19th of March in very small font. And then 3 more links. Why I should be interested in the December 2013 newsletter, even if I'm interested in the Spring 2014 newsletter, is beyond me. Now you might think, well, that's not very much for a website based in Greater Manchester. Is that all there is? Well, I'll let you into a secret. No, it isn't. But where's the navigation? Aha, you say. It could be in the left-hand column. Now let me tell you, first of all, about the structure of this page. This is not structured with tables. It's structured by something called frame sets. Now, frame sets were the major breakthrough when people realised that tables were not satisfactory. And I understand that they were used with great enthusiasm for about 6 months, probably over 10 years ago. And then people realised that they had one major drawback, the rubbish. And so nobody uses frame sets anymore, except for Greater Manchester Churches Together and several other websites that I've found and hopefully won't have to tell you about. So, the left-hand column with the words main menu in it, which is a clue that there is some navigation somewhere, is a frame set. And basically what a frame set is the heading area, the left-hand column and the main area are all different web pages that have been structured together, and so they appear to be one page, but there's actually 3 pages, which makes search engine optimization a complete nightmare. Well, clearly what we need to do is click on the word main menu. No, that's not what we can do. It would turn into a little hand, and it hasn't done that. I wonder where the menu can be. Perhaps if we whistle for it. Oh, there it is. As you can see, when you hover over that empty space, the menu miraculously appears. Take the cursor away, and the menu disappears. This is technically known in the trade as mystery meat. I don't know why, but there you go, mystery meat. The amazing hunt the menu and find the menu. Now let's have a look at it. Apart from it being in shocking pink, the font is incredibly small. I don't want to read that. And note, when you hover over the secondary menu, it obscures the primary menu. What a mess. But I think for effort, this has got to be seen as the worst intermediate body website in the country. Next time, we're going to look at the 5 best. Thank you for listening.